Hi, it's the first part of May. It's time for our market report. Brand new Prime Minister Mark Carney. He seems to be promising the world right now. We'll see how that goes. Donald Trump with his tariffs. Of course, that's affecting things. Inventory up 115%. Yowzer. And sales activity down 22%. We're going to take a look at the numbers, see how that's affecting the market, and talk about where we go from here. All right, well, we're going to look at the Calgary Real Estate Board statistics, the full package, as we did here just a couple of weeks ago. And before that, I want to check in and look at Anne-Marie Laurier, that's the Calgary Real Estate Board's chief economist, her market forecast as of New Year this year. I want to chat about that. All right, so first of all, let's have a look at the Calgary Real Estate Board forecast from Anne-Marie Laurier, as I had mentioned. Now, I'm going to just pop down to the end here. There's a ton of information in here. As you can see, it is loaded. So I don't want to belabor this and go through all of it. If you're interested in getting these full reports, this as well as the Calgary Real Estate Board report, just click the button and send us an email. We're more than happy to send that out to you. Oh, and those people that had requested the report previously will get this new report out to you as well. I had a bit of a technical issue getting the last one out to you in a timely manner. So as I said, let's not belabor this. What I wanted to do was pop down to just the summary and overview of the numbers here. So as you can see, the anticipated sales for total residential 2025 is 26,850, and I mean almost exactly the same number as last year. So pretty much the same as far as sales volume goes. I don't know how they figure that out that closely, but God bless Anne-Marie Laurier. She does her job. And almost a 3% increase in the sales price of the average home in Calgary. So just wanted to chat about that because as I said, I had a client mention this to me the other day, and it's anticipating that we're going to see that 3% increase, which is about a $25,000 increase in the value of his property. Just that was as of the new year. And now with Mark Carney in, and then as well the tariff situation, it seems like things have changed considerably, especially when you look at the 115% increase in inventory and 22% drop in sales. That's significant. So let's move on and have a look at the numbers from the Calgary Real Estate Board current market report. All right, so here we are. And let's move along through this in a timely manner so we're not taking all day. I don't think that there's a whole lot of need for that. But let's move on here. As I said, put your email in. I'll send this off to you, no problem whatsoever. So typically the stats that come out and are advertised are the total residential price. And as you can see there, that has dropped off about 1.5%. Now these are numbers year to over year. So this is compared to the end of April last year. Single family detached up 770,000 approximately. So when you're looking at these numbers, now they are taking the benchmark price, and I'm not a fan of benchmark price. Benchmark is where they take, instead of taking the average of the sales, they take the average property that is in Calgary and they price that out every month. And I don't know how they figure out what the average property is for the total residential of all Calgary. I have no idea, but they price that out. And the idea is to take out the highs and the lows of the average price. But I have worked with this benchmark price a number of times, and I find it inaccurate. And for a number of different reasons, which I won't go into the detail with you on. Talked to Anne-Marie Laurier, the economist, about it, and she said, these are not our numbers. They have a data company that puts them together. I don't know why the real estate board doesn't do that themselves, but as I said, I don't like it. So here we are. Let's move along. As I said, you're most welcome to order this and I will get it to you. So total residential sales, as you can see there, down 22% year over year, and inventory up a whopping 115%. As I said, this is the CREB, City of Calgary, total residential sales. Months of supply, look at that. So months of supply, absorption rate or rate of turnover, that's these numbers right here in this line. That is a market momentum indicator. As I said, it goes by several different names, but it's all the same thing. So basically what you would do is take the number of listings. So let's say the total listings in the city are 2,000 and last month we sold 1,000 properties. We just pretend then that the listings stay exactly the same at 2,000 and nothing else gets listed, and that the rate of sales stays steady. And so the 2,000 divided by the 1,000 sales in the previous 30 days would be a 2-month absorption rate. So a 2-month absorption rate is considered a balanced market in most market segments. And when you get into the higher numbers, higher months, like 3, 4, 5 months, is considered a buyer's market, and below that, for example, around that 1-month level, is definitely a seller's market. So keep that in mind, that we've transitioned from a seller's market. Now we're pushing over to even past the balance side, potentially into a buyer's market, and that's just been over the last few months. So that's a big change. So let's deep dive a little bit further here. Okay, here I was just looking at these numbers. As you can see, this line here, if you can see my cursor at the 0% mark, that's where there's this prices are balanced. Again, this benchmark percentage year over year change in price. And at this point, it crossed just here last month, and our price is basically the same as it was last year, and now we're starting to drift down a little bit. So if you look here, you can see that these blue bars, now that's the months of supply or absorption rate. You can see as we go through the new year, right here, I'm looking between 2021 and 22, things drop off in the first few months, right? And then 2022 to 23, the same thing. Things drop off with the absorption rate during the first few months. And if you look back over the years, it's pretty consistent that happens. And until you come to our 2025 here, and you can see that absorption rate through the end of 2024 came up with a steep jump through the fall and the winter months. And as we got into January, oops, look at that, not dropping. So that's indicative of a market change for sure. All right, so let's move along and see what else we've got here. A single family detached, total sales down 16%. Market inventory of listings in single family homes up 106%. Again, significant numbers here. Benchmark price up 2.4% from 2024. And as I said, I like the average price. It's more reflective of the market, especially when you have a nice big data pool. Average price here is up 5% from last year. So that's a significant amount of money. As you can see there, it's about $40,000 or up over last year. But that months of supply, I've got it highlighted there, 2.28 months, just marginally over that 2-month balanced market situation. Apartments are a different story. As you can see here, they are up to a 3-month absorption rate, and the year-over-year average price is about 2.5%, so virtually half the increase that the single-family market saw. And then we go down to semi-detached. Now this is an indication, as I was talking about, was size of data pool. So the number of total sales here is, if you can see, is 190 sales now, so down 25% from last year's 254. But golly, that's about what, 18% of the single family detached sales at 1,102 this year, compared to 190 with the semi detached properties. So significantly smaller data pool, which indicates that the numbers aren't quite as reliable. And we're seeing that down here in the average price for semi-detached last year, 698,000 and change, and now we're down about 0.5% to 695,000. So all the other sectors that we talked about are showing increases, as well as even the row houses down below, which have about double the data pool. Let's move along here. Boom, boom, ba-doom, boom, boom, ba-doom, boom. Oh, breakdown in neighborhoods. Now this is interesting because we're seeing this market slow down, but the different parts of the city are affected differently. Typically, we see the Northeast, it tends to fall off first when things slow down. And as you can see here, that months of supply in single family detached is at about 4 months. So that is definitely a buyer's market in Northeast Calgary. Northwest is strong, still really decent market. We're seeing multiple offers and situations where there's bidding up of prices there. Also in the West and the Southwest. So West is basically West Hills and over that way, and then South is down south into the Southwest. And under 2-month absorption rate, 1.8, 1.82. And different sections of the city within those submarkets are hot as a firecracker. They're still doing really, really well. And others aren't. So it's important to get specific numbers on your area, your community, if you're thinking about selling a house. East of the city, east side is 2.25 months. And then you look into apartments, holy croaky. Look at Northeast apartment absorption rate, 7 months. Definitely tough to sell an apartment in the Northeast right now. But different parts of the city are faring not too bad. Northwest, about 2.5 months absorption rate, and the east side of the city, and that's down in the east corridor, more newer area in the far southeast, and that's under 2.5 months there as far as absorption rate goes. Semi-detached, they said again, small data pool, but again, Northeast is sitting at about 4.5 months of inventory, and the Northwest is down below 2 months at 1.3. Then down to row houses, Northeast, 5.5 months of inventory there, and where are we? What's doing the best here? At 2.18 in the Northwest. All right, so let's pop down. I wanted to chat with you a little bit about just that benchmark pricing and how they work it out. This here is an explanation of the typical home attributes for detached homes. So you can see here the different market zones from the Calgary Real Estate Board and the size and attributes of those benchmark price typical homes. As I said, I don't necessarily have a lot of confidence in that. Average price still good and solid. So yeah, let's wrap this up. Where do we go from here? I think that we're going to see prices pop up here through the spring. It's going to be more of a normal market and then retract down over the summer. In the next 4 to 6 weeks, we're going to be seeing the best prices of the year, and then things will drop off later in the fall. Will we see a 3% increase across the board? I have my doubts about that. Could happen, but I don't think so. I'm not seeing it in this market. So we'll see what happens. We could see prices retract a little bit, and again, that depends on the wild cards, Mark Carney and tariffs and all that sort of stuff. So, and what else here? Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, all this stuff is tons and tons of information. So, like I said, just email us. We'll scoot it off to you as quick as we can. So that's it. As I said, put your name in if you'd like the full stats package. We'll send you the year-end forecast from back in January, and as well this month's full stats package. And you folks that missed your mid-month stats package, I will get that off to you with this updated version for sure. So that's it for now. Hope you have a great day and take care.